Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Jordan Rings Sakabe. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between polite Japanese and non-polite Japanese. A lot of different textbooks kind of like refer to these things in different ways. The Genki Text series refers to these things as short form and long form. And if you've learned Japanese from a native speaker, you might have heard of things like keigo or like son keigo or kenjogo. Like, there's a lot of different types of polite speech. It can get confusing. Today, I want to focus on like kind of the most conversational forms of polite speech and non-polite speech used in Japanese. So if you watch this video, find you like it, think it's useful, be sure to like stick around and subscribe. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive straight into this lesson. Okay, we're basically going over the most conversational endings and predicates for pretty much all parts of speech. In other words, you know, like verbs, adjectives, and not adjectives and nouns, because those are typically treated in the same way. The first thing to keep in mind is like we're going to divide this up into two groups: the polite form, which we'll also call long form. There's a lot of textbooks who call it that. You can call this keigo. Maybe you have a teacher that says mas form, mas and desu form. Kind of like, that's what this all refers to, okay? And we're going to compare that to the non-polite form. This is also known as short form. So let's first start up here with the polite form. We're going to talk about verbs. Now, any verb at any given time is either going to be affirmative or negative. Affirmative basically means that you do the verb, that the action does, did take place. Compare that to the negative, where the action doesn't, will not, or did not take place. So if you are a present or future tense verb in the polite form, affirmative, you would say mas, negative, you would say masen. Past tense, affirmative would be mashita. And past tense negative would be masen deshita. So let's go ahead and make up some examples of all four of those different types. So we'll start with present affirmative. This sentence will mean, you know, I drink coffee. We'll keep it simple. 私はコーヒーを飲みます。私はコーヒーを飲みます。Let's now go to like the negative present slash future tense. So we'll now put here don't slash won't drink coffee. We basically then just take the mas here and then switch the su with the sen, and we get 私はコーヒーを飲みません. You might hear people say コーヒーは飲みません. It means the same thing. And there we go. We have seen the present and future tense in affirmative and negative. Let's now check out what you do for past affirmative and negative for the polite form of verbs. So if you wanted to say I drank coffee, or I did drink coffee, same thing, right? That would be 私は, if you have to, you know, specify the topic of the sentence, then コーヒーを飲みました. I drank coffee. And now if this is the past negative, we would replace コーヒーを飲みました with コーヒーを飲みませんでした. Like this. Oh, spelled better. Okay. 私はコーヒーを飲みませんでした. Okay, great. So we have the non-polite form of verbs, and it looks like this: ru, ta, nai, and nakatta. So if we're using taberu, it would be, you know, to eat. I eat is taberu. I ate would be tabeta. I don't eat or I won't eat would be tabenai. And then I didn't eat, or I didn't eat, that would be tabenakatta. So let's go ahead and once again put in the translations. Okay, now there is kind of this in-between version of the long form and the short form. Like you can say either tabenai, or you could go up a little bit in politeness and say tabenai desu, tabenai desu. Or you can go even more polite and say tabemasen. All of these are conversational though. Like, you know, when I'm talking to my friends and my family, people who I'm close with, I could say tabenai. It's not rude, it's conversational, but it's not appropriate for maybe talking to a boss or a teacher and, you know, other people like that. You can get away with using tabenai desu though in those situations. Tabemasen might be the best one in those situations where you're talking to teachers and superiors and stuff. Now, we have a similar thing with didn't eat. So we can say tabenakatta desu, and that's a little bit more polite than just saying tabenakatta. And then out of these three though, tabemasen deshita, this one here, is going to be the most polite. And that comes from up here. So in other words, you'll notice that like down here in the non-polite short form, that we have these blue boxes. Yeah, and I just used these two here. Well, basically, what this means is these are all endings which can take des. For example, tabenai was able to take on des after it, to say tabenai des. Now, these blue areas that can take on des are taking on des in the sense that the des is making the whole sentence a step higher in politeness. So, like, if I just said, you know, this is for e adjectives, like oishii, that's a fine sentence actually. If I just said sushi wa oishii, that's a non-polite sentence that means sushi is delicious because the e at the end of oishii means is, are, am, to be. It's the copula basically. That's actually attached to the end of an e adjective. And when you add des to an e of an e adjective, or when you add des to any of these blue words here, it is basically just making them a half step up in politeness, but not quite long form, okay? But you can't do that with just any word. Like for example, if I try to say taberu here, right? And add a des to it, it doesn't work. Like you're not going to take that half step. You can't. You just go straight to tabemasu. It's either taberu or tabemasu. Same with tabeta for ate. You can say tabeta, but you can't say tabeta desu. Like I get students all the time making these mistakes. Instead, you either have to go straight up to tabemashita. Well, actually, no, that's like kind of just the option. If you want to go up one step in politeness, you go from tabeta up to tabemashita. Like for nouns and not adjectives, right? You can say like someone is handsome by saying handsome da. And if you want to say that a little bit politer, you use des, handsome desu. But you know, you don't add des to da. You wouldn't say handsome da desu. Ooh. And you wouldn't add des after the past tense of that either. So you wouldn't do handsome datta desu. You say handsome deshita. And that's why, you know, here in the long form, when it comes to like e adjectives, I just have add des on everything. Because that brings it up a step in politeness. There are additional ways of saying e adjectives in polite forms. And I'm going to show those to you just real quick here. These ones are even more polite than just adding des to the short form. So like you might not actually encounter it a whole lot, but just know that these exist. So you could say, let's use our example oishii again, right? Delicious. So I'm gonna come up here and say sushi wa oishii. That will make it polite with des. Now let's do past tense. So we had sushi wa oishikatta. Sushi was delicious. Sushi wa oishikatta. Now let's say sushi wa oishikatta desu. Same thing, it's just now a little bit more polite. And now it's really these negative ones down here where we say is not delicious and was not delicious, where we see more variety. So isn't delicious was sushi wa oishikunai desu. And once again, this means sushi isn't delicious. However, we can replace nai desu with arimasen. Sushi wa oishiku arimasen. That also means sushi isn't delicious, and it's just a little bit more politer. Now, we'll leave that and make this now sushi wasn't delicious, which would then be sushi wa oishiku arimasen deshita. Now, some of you might have noticed, hey, in other words, you just took the nai on kunai and replaced it with arimasen. So kunai became ku arimasen. Does that mean whenever I encounter a nai, I can replace it with arimasen? Can I replace nai with arimasen anytime? Yeah! In fact, check this out. You can say, you know, using a na adjective or noun that something isn't that noun or na adjective, like he isn't handsome, by saying kare wa handsome ja nai. Kare wa handsome ja nai. And you can make it a little bit more politer by adding desu. Kare wa handsome ja nai desu. Or you can replace the nai with arimasen and say kare wa handsome ja arimasen. Now, let's take that and make it past tense now. He wasn't handsome. Kare wa handsome ja arimasen deshita. Yeah. So, anyways, you can do that with arimasen. So we've spent a lot of time now just talking about verbs and e-adjectives and not adjectives in the polite form and in the non-polite form. I said I was going to write up these things and I didn't yet, so let me do that real quick. So we can say ku arimasen. Sorry that this isn't all just on one line. I wish I could design this a little better. If you have a better design for this, go ahead and let me know in the comments. So then here we could also say ja arimasen. You might hear some people who say, oh, I already wrote that, sorry. We don't need this here again. But actually this is nice to have because I did want to mention that, like, you might hear some people say de wa arimasen, or de wa arimasen deshita. And that's the same thing as saying ja arimasen deshita. Literally no difference, except for maybe like it's a matter of frequency. Like I definitely hear more people say janai and ja arimasen than I hear people say, you know, de wa nai and de wa arimasen. But you know, if you have evidence like to the contrary, I'd love to see it. Please share that information with me if you have it. So there we go. And this is basically, yeah, what's going on with the most conversational endings and predicates in Japanese, long form and short form, or in other words, non-polite form and polite form of Japanese. So if you like this chart, I'm going to put a link to this document in the description for this video. Feel free to check it out. Let's write some sentences and see if you can understand them. And I'm going to write them both in non-polite form and in polite form. And we'll include a couple of them which are in this like sort of blue area. Another ones that can sort of like, you know, take des if you want to add it on to just make it slightly more polite. Okay. So let's use some verbs first. Let's say, you know, I went to school. I won't open the door. I want to get verbs like from each like sort of verb type. So let's also say I came to Japan last year, and I studied English for an hour yesterday. Okay. So we'll do short form first. 学校に行った。I'm gonna leave out the I part. Let's just like talk with the understanding that I is implied based on the context, okay? So 学校に行った。学校に来ました。I went to school. In polite form. Okay, now short form for I won't open the door would be ドアを開けない。ドアを開けない。And then like I won't open the door, like long form or polite form. ドアを開けません。And then that in between form which uses desu, ドアを開けないです。Okay. I came to Japan last year. Would be 去年。Oh, sorry. No. 去年。日本に来ました。That's long form. And short form would be 去年日本に来た。Alrighty. We're gonna not write this stuff in kanji today. We'll save kanji for another time. I studied English for an hour yesterday. 昨日かな？英語を Sorry, I won't use kanji, then use kanji. 昨日英語を1時間勉強した。That's short form. And then long form would be 昨日英語を1時間勉強しました。Alright. So, once again, I want to point out that like the reason why we could add des to the end of this one, but not the other ones, is because all the other ones fell into the affirmative past category in the non-polite and polite form, and only this I won't open the door sentence fell into the present negative category, which is why we could add des to it. Yeah. Let's do a couple of e-adjectives. Let's use negative present and affirmative past. Let's use the e-adjective busy, like I am not busy today. And let's say I was happy. Okay. 今日忙しくないです。今日忙しくないです。That's the long form, or the polite form, as you could say it. And then let's put in the short non-polite form. 今日忙しくない。I was happy, and the short form would be 忙しかった。Oh, sorry, no, sorry. 嬉しかった。And then I was happy in polite form would be 嬉しかったです。Alright. Let's use nouns and adjectives now. So let's use the not adjective. I was using handsome earlier, so instead let's use convenient, which is bendy. We'll use this in present tense affirmative and negative past. So that would then be is convenient, like let's say this smartphone is very convenient. And then that smartphone wasn't very convenient. So, このスマホはとっても便利だ。Short form. Now let's look at long form. このスマホはとっても便利です。You might hear in like even more casual context, people take off da. このスマホはとっても便利。That's not wrong. You will encounter that kind of thing too. Sometimes if you use da too much, it sounds a little condescending. Anyways, so that might be a little bit extra for today's lesson, though, so we'll take that out. Let's now say that smartphone wasn't very convenient. So we're gonna pretend like this is like close to the person you're talking to. So like そのスマホはあまり便利じゃなかった。This is short form. Let's listen to it one more time. そのスマホはあまり便利じゃなかった。And the long polite form of that would be そのスマホはあまり便利じゃありませんでした。Then we have that in between level of politeness, which we can use here. そのスマホはあまり便利じゃなかったです。And the reason why we can use that is because, you know, we're using a not adjective in the past negative. And so it falls into one of these blue areas where we can use des, if we want to. And the only thing we haven't really used is a noun. So let's say that someone's a Japanese person, right? A person's a noun. A Japanese person in Japanese is Nihonjin. So let's say we'll use negative present tense and then affirmative past. So let's say we're talking about someone named Erica. Erica was Japanese. And then we'll also say Erica isn't Japanese. Okay, so Erica was Japanese would be Erika, and you know, this is short form, so I'm not gonna add san. So Erika wa Nihonjin datta. And then now, since I'm going to be using long polite form, now I'll add san. Erika-san wa, you know, like if you know their last name, that would be even better. Let's pretend their last name is like Murakami. Murakami-san wa Nihonjin deshita. That would more like mean like Ms. Murakami was Japanese. But you know, it'd be kind of weird to like sort of say deshita, you know, a polite verb ending, and then not have like san added to someone's name. You know what I mean? Okay, so Murakami-san wa Nihonjin deshita. Okay, Erika isn't Japanese in short form would be, one way we could say it. Well, we used the ja nakata, we used the ja version up here. So this time we'll use dewa. We'll give you a little bit of variety. So Erika エリカは日本人ではない。Erica isn't Japanese. And now, in polite Japanese long form, that would be Murakami-san. No kanji de. Murakami-san wa 日本人ではありません。And then that in between version would be 村上さんは日本人ではないです。Alright, that does it for today. If you liked the video, once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have some things that you want to learn about, some questions that you have in Japanese, and you want to hear an explanation in English, like in this video, yeah, you know, let me know what you want to hear. You know, you can email me. My email's in like my channel description, or you can look at the description in this video for more like ways to contact me, or leave a comment, you know? Anyways, I had a lot of fun. Hope you did too. I'll see you in the next video. それじゃ、またね